When humans get angry, the entire galaxy trembles. Randy Bell, a rugged soldier, stands over the mangled corpses of human colonists, his fists clenched tight, eyes narrow with laser focus on a single goal: vengeance. The distant Zarantine outpost of Zephyrus 6 was supposed to be a new start for the massacred settlers, slaughtered by the ruthless General Uko and his alien forces. But their dreams turned to blood-soaked nightmares. Examining the grisly scene, Bell notices something strange, evidence pointing to a calculated extermination, not just another skirmish in the tense conflict between species. The colonists never stood a chance. Righteous fury surges through Bell's veins. He whips around to face his squad of elite human commandos, his voice low and seething. This will not stand. The Zarantine went too far this time. It's up to us to make this right. We're going to take the fight to them and make them pay for spilling human blood. His soldiers nod grimly. They're the best of the best, battle-hardened, cunning, and strong, but even they feel a chill down their spines at the pure rage emanating from Bell. They almost pity the Zarantine. Almost. As the squad double-times it back to their ship to plan the counterattack, Bell's mind races. This wasn't just a strike against helpless civilians. It was a message. The Zarantine clearly thought they could butcher humans without consequence. Uko must have thought his species superior. He thought wrong. The galaxy was about to learn what happens when you murder innocent humans, when you piss off mankind's best, when you dare to believe you can win against the sheer unstoppable force of the human spirit. Bell would make sure the humans' response echoed across the stars like a supernova. This was no longer about just one colony. The fate of humanity itself hung in the balance. Submit to alien tyranny or rise up and fight for their right to exist. Bell knew which choice he would make, which choice humanity would make, and heaven helped the Zarantine when the humans descended on them in a storm of vengeance, determined to carve out mankind's place in the cosmos, no matter how many alien corpses they had to climb over to do it. Back on the ship, the adrenaline rush fading, Bell scrutinizes the stolen star map with a mixture of hope and apprehension. The mysterious coordinates beckon, tantalizing in their promise of answers and advantage. But the path ahead is fraught with danger. "Ramirez, Chen, get over here," Bell barks. "We need to figure out our next move." The demolitions expert and tech specialist huddle around the glowing display, their faces illuminated by the ancient alien script. Chen's brow furrows as he works to decipher the intricate symbols. "I've never seen anything like this," Chen mutters. "But if I'm reading it right, this map points to a hidden system, a planet the Zarantine believe holds immense power." Ramirez lets out a low whistle. "A secret weapon? Something to turn the tide of war in their favor?" Bell's heart maids as he traces a finger along the cryptic star paths. Whatever it is, we can't let Uko or his goons get their claws on it. We need to rally the fleet, mount a full-scale offensive. The ship hums with renewed purpose as they race through the void towards human-controlled space. In the medbay, medics patch up the wounded, stitching gashes and setting bones. The air crackles with a sense of urgency, a knowledge that time is running out. Bell strides onto the bridge, the star map gripped tight. His eyes blaze with the fire of a man possessed by a mission. "Get me a direct line to Admiral Hawkins. We need to—" Alarms blare, cutting him off. The sensor officer pales as she scans her display. "Sir, we've got a bogey on our tail. Zarantine's signature, cloaked." Bell curses under his breath. He should have known it wouldn't be that easy. Uko was too clever, too determined to let his prize slip away without a fight. "Evasive maneuvers," he snaps to the helmsman. To the weapons officer, "Spin up the point defenses. If they so much as twitch, light 'em up." The ship veers and banks as the crew scrambles to action stations. In the corridors, Marines strap on armor and check their weapons, prepping for a potential boarding action. Bell's eyes never leave the star map. So close. They're so damn close to turning the tide, to ensuring humanity's place among the stars. Like hell, he'll let the Zarantine stop them now. His fingers tighten around the hilt of his combat knife, fist clenched. Uko's broken body flashes through his mind, the taste of victory fresh. Let them come, he thinks grimly. We'll be ready. And this time, we're playing for keeps. The ship hurtles onward, engines straining, desperate to reach the safety of human space before the Zarantine hunter can catch its wounded prey. In the shadows of the void, the chess pieces shift, the great galactic game poised on the edge of a knife. The battle for humanity's future has only just begun. The ship lurched violently, throwing Bell against the bulkhead. Alarms blared as the Zarantine ambush unfolded. "Plasma torpedoes incoming," the sensor officer shouted. Bell gripped the command console. "Evasive action! Return fire!" But it was too late. The first volley slammed into their engines, rocking the ship. Sparks showered from ruptured conduits as system after system went dark. "We've lost main power," Chen called out. "Auxiliary engines failing." Bell's mind raced. They couldn't die here, not with the precious star map in their possession. "All hands, brace for impact. We're going in hard." The ship plummeted towards a desolate moon below, trailing fire and debris. Bell clenched his teeth as they hit atmosphere, the hull screaming in protest. With a bone-jarring crunch, they slammed into the rocky surface and skidded to a halt. Coughing through the acrid smoke, Bell pulled himself to his feet. "Sound off! Who's still alive?" One by one, his squad reported in, bruised and bloodied, but alive. For now. "Ship's a total loss, sir," Ramirez said, examining a sparking control panel. "We're not getting off this rock under our own power." Bell nodded grimly. "Zarantine will be on us soon. We need to dig in, make our stand." His eyes fell on a jagged opening in the moon's surface nearby. "There, those lava tubes. Move it, people." They scrambled to salvage what they could from the wreckage. Weapons, medical supplies, rations. Every second counted. As they fortified their position in the winding tunnels, Bell's mind raced. How had the Zarantine found them so quickly? And Uko, was the bastard still alive? His questions were answered as the first assault wave hit. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as Zarantine troops swarmed the entrance. And there, at their head, stood the scarred visage of General Uko himself. "Hold the line," Bell roared, laying down suppressing fire. "Make these tunnels their grave." Ramirez's traps claimed the first victims, mines shredding alien flesh. Chen's hacked battle network had the Zarantine shooting at shadows. But still they came, driven by Uko's relentless hatred. Hours blurred together in a haze of gunfire and screams. Bell's arms ached from recoil. His lungs burned from toxic fumes. They were being pushed back, inch by bloody inch. "Running low on ammo, sir," Chen called out between bursts of his rifle. "Medical supplies almost gone." Bell cursed. They needed a miracle. Then it hit him. An audacious attempt, but their only shot. "Chen, broadcast our location on all channels. Someone has to hear us." The tech specialist's eyes widened. "Sir, that'll bring every Zarantine ship in the sector down on our heads." "Do it. It's our only chance." Chen nodded and got to work. Moments later, their distress call echoed into the void. The response was immediate. The Zarantine attacks redoubled, Uko howling for their blood. This was it, their final stand. Bell met the alien general's eyes across the battlefield. All the hatred, all the pain of lost comrades, it all came down to this moment. With a primal roar, Bell charged. Uko met him halfway, their weapons clashing in a shower of sparks. Around them, human and Zarantine forces collided in a maelstrom of violence. Bleeding from a dozen wounds, Bell fought with everything he had left. For Earth, for humanity's future. He wouldn't let Uko win. The cavern shook. Cracks spiderwebbed across the ceiling. With a deafening roar, the lava tube began to collapse. "Fall back!" Bell screamed to his squad, but it was too late. Tons of rock came crashing down, burying friend and foe alike in darkness. Bell's last thought before unconsciousness took him was of the star map clutched tight in his fist. He couldn't let go. Not now. Not ever. An eternity later, Bell clawed his way back to awareness. Voices, human voices, and the whine of plasma cutters. "We've found survivors. Get a medical team down here, stat." Light flooded in as rubble was cleared away. Bell squinted, barely able to believe his eyes. Marine uniforms, a fleet battle group insignia. "About damn time," he croaked as they pulled him free. His squad, the map. They'd made it. Somehow, in a seemingly impossible way, they'd survived. But Bell knew this was just the beginning. The real fight, the race to uncover the map's secrets, was only just starting. And Bell would be damned if he let humanity down now. The Intrepid sputtered through space, its hull scorched and engines sputtering. Randy gripped the command chair as they limped towards the human fleet's rendezvous point. "Comms are back online, sir," Chen reported. "Fleet command is hailing us." Randy nodded, his teeth gritted. "Put them through." Admiral Hawkins' grizzled face appeared on the screen. "Bell, what the hell happened out there?" "Zarantine ambush, sir. We got lucky." Randy held up the star map. "But we found something. Something big." Hours later, Randy stood before the assembled fleet command, the alien artifact projected behind him. "This map points to a power source beyond our comprehension. If the Zarantine get their hands on it first, it's game over for humanity." Heated arguments erupted among the brass. Some called it a wild goose chase. Others demanded immediate action. "Enough!" Admiral Hawkins smacked his palm on the table. "We can't afford to ignore this. Mobilize the fleet. We leave in 48 hours. The next 2 days were a whirlwind of activity. Warships were readied, marine transports loaded. Randy found himself thrust into the role of expedition guide, poring over the star map with navigation officers. As the massive human armada prepared to jump, Randy addressed the troops. "What we find at the end of this map could decide the fate of our species. Stay frosty out there." Their journey took them through uncharted space. Radioactive clouds of stellar gas swirled around them, their sensors nearly useless. They skirted the edge of a system with an unstable pulsar, its deadly beams of radiation lashing out at random. "Collision alert!" a sensor officer shouted as they emerged from hyperspace into a dense asteroid field. Ships banked and weaved, but not all made it through unscathed. The Zarantine found them 3 days later. A strike force of sleek alien vessels dropped out of warp, energy weapons blazing. "All ships, combat formation Delta," Admiral Hawkins barked. "Give 'em hell!" The battle raged for hours. Human ships exploded in silent bursts of fire, while Zarantine vessels crumpled under sustained missile barrages. In the end, the aliens retreated, but the cost had been high. Chen and his tech team worked tirelessly, scavenging Zarantine wreckage to upgrade their own systems. "We're closing the gap," he told Randy, dark circles under his eyes. "Next time, we'll be ready." Weeks passed. The fleet pressed on, battered but unbroken. Finally, they emerged into an unremarkable star system. "Probes are picking up a habitable planet," the science officer reported. "And sir, there are artificial structures on the surface. Massive ones." Randy's heart raced as their shuttle broke atmosphere. Below them sprawled the ruins of a vast city, its towering spires reaching for the alien sky. "My God," Ramirez whispered as they touched down. "Who built this place?" They picked their way through crumbling streets, marveling at incomprehensible machines and eerie artifacts. At the city's heart, they found it, a pulsing nexus of energy, dormant but not dead. "This is it," Randy breathed, reaching out to touch the control panel. "This could change everything." Alarms blared. Chen's eyes widened as he checked his scanner. "Sir, multiple Zarantine signatures entering the system." Randy's blood ran cold. He keyed his comm. "All units, battle stations. This is what we came for, people. Whatever happens, we hold this position." As the first Zarantine drop pod streaked through the atmosphere, Randy knew the fate of humanity would be decided here, among the ruins of a long-dead civilization. The skies above the ancient city darkened as the Zarantine armada emerged from warp, a swarm of sleek alien vessels jam-packed with weaponry. Randy's breath caught in his throat as he watched the feeds from orbit. "All units, this is it," he barked into the comm. "Dig in and prepare for heavy contact." The human fleet wasted no time. Railguns roared to life, spitting hypervelocity slugs across the void. Plasma lances lashed out, searing alien hulls. But the Zarantine returned fire with devastating effect. Ion cannons sliced through human ships, gutting them stem to stern. On the ground, Randy felt the earth shake as dropships and gunships screamed overhead, disgorging waves of Marines and Army units. They swarmed over the Nexus ruins, setting up fortifications with practiced efficiency. "Get those heavy weapons in place," Randy shouted, directing traffic from his command bunker. "I want interlocking fields of fire covering every approach." The first Zarantine landing craft punched through the atmosphere, disgorging Uko's elite shock troops. Randy's blood ran cold as he saw the alien general himself leading the charge, his massive frame unmistakable, even at a distance. "All batteries, fire for effect," Randy ordered. Artillery shells arced overhead, pounding the Zarantine landing zones. But still they came, a tidal wave of chitinous bodies and plasma fire crashing against the human lines. Randy watched grimly as casualty reports flooded in, but his troops held firm, giving no ground. Ramirez's elaborate web of defenses exacted a brutal toll on the attackers. Mines detonated under alien feet, shredding them to bloody pulp. Remote charges collapsed tunnels and passageways, burying entire squads. Sentry turrets stitched lines of fire across no man's land, cutting down wave after wave. In the command bunker, Chen hunched over his console, fingers flying as he worked to crack the Nexus systems. "Almost there," he muttered. "Just need a little more time." Randy nodded, then grabbed his rifle. "You've got it. I'm heading out." He led a company of Marines in a lightning counterattack, catching the Zarantine off guard. They pushed deep into enemy lines, plasma and tracer fire crisscrossing the battlefield. And there he was, Uko. The two locked eyes across the chaos, years of hatred crystallizing in an instant. Randy charged, dodging plasma bolts and leaping over fallen debris. His combat knife flashed as he engaged the alien general in brutal close-quarters combat. For a moment, Randy thought he'd won. Uko lay motionless, his alien blood pooling on the ground. But then the Zarantine twitched, cybernetic implants whirring to life. He rose, more machine than living being, shrugging off Randy's attacks like they were nothing. Randy fell back, calling for support as Uko advanced inexorably. All seemed lost. Then the ground trembled. A shimmering energy field erupted from the earth, encasing every Zarantine ground unit in a stasis bubble. Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "Got it! Nexus defenses online!" Randy whooped in triumph, watching as Chen turned the full might of the Nexus against the orbiting Zarantine fleet. Ship after ship disintegrated, reduced to their component atoms by the unimaginable energies unleashed. As the last enemy contact winked out, a ragged cheer went up from the human lines. They'd done it. They'd held the Nexus. Randy surveyed the hard-won battlefield, his mind already racing ahead to the larger conflict. This was just the beginning. He keyed his comm, issuing new orders to the fleet and ground forces. "We've got work to do, people," he announced. "Let's see what other secrets this Nexus is hiding." Randy stood at the heart of the Nexus control room, surrounded by a hive of activity. Holographic displays flickered with streams of alien data as Chen and his team worked tirelessly to unlock the ancient facility's secrets. "We've isolated another subsystem, sir," Chen reported, his eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. "It's incredible. The Nexus can manipulate subspace fields on a scale we've never seen before." Randy nodded, studying the intricate schematics. "Good work. Keep pushing. We need every advantage we can get." Over the next months, the research outpost buzzed with constant activity. Xenoarchaeologists meticulously cataloged artifacts while engineers reverse-engineered exotic technologies. Randy oversaw it all, driving his people hard but always leading from the front. In a reinforced testing chamber, Randy watched as a prototype gravitic shield effortlessly absorbed the blast from a tactical nuke. The shield bubble didn't even flicker. "Hot damn," Ramirez whispered, eyes wide behind his protective visor. That'll give the Zarantine bastards a nasty surprise. Randy allowed himself a grim smile. It's a start, but we need more. He threw himself into weapons development, working alongside the engineering teams. They constructed a massive hypervelocity plasma cannon, its barrel stretching the length of a football field. When they test-fired it at an asteroid, the space rock simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant. As their technological edge grew, Randy's thoughts turned to the offensive. He gathered the senior staff, laying out his audacious plan. We hit them hard, hit them fast, Randy explained, gesturing at the holographic star map. Multiple colony worlds simultaneously. Our new phase shift technology lets us bypass their defenses entirely. We go in, wreck their infrastructure, and open the door for our main invasion force. Admiral Hawkins frowned. It's risky, Bell. We'd be stretching ourselves thin. With respect, sir, we can't afford to play it safe anymore, Randy countered. The Zarantine are on the back foot. This is our chance to end the war in one decisive stroke. After hours of heated debate, the plan was approved. The next week saw a flurry of activity as invasion forces assembled. Randy personally oversaw the training of the commando teams, pushing them to master the new phase shift technology. As the massive human armada prepared to jump, Randy addressed the troops from the Nexus Command Center. What we do here today will echo through history. We fight not just for Earth, but for the future of our entire species. Show no mercy, give no quarter, victory or death. A thunderous cheer went up from the assembled soldiers. But as Randy turned away from the view screen, he noticed a group of alien diplomats watching with undisguised concern. Is this truly necessary? Asked Shinta, the Altarian ambassador. Such overwhelming force. We fear you may become that which you seek to destroy. Randy's eyes hardened. We'll do whatever it takes to survive. If that makes us monsters in your eyes, so be it. He strode past the stunned diplomats, laser-focused on the coming battle. As alarms sounded throughout the Nexus, signaling the Armada's imminent departure, Randy allowed himself one final moment of reflection. This was it, the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. There was no turning back now. The invasion fleet burst into existence above Troraz, a swarm of human warships materializing through shimmering wormhole apertures. Randy stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching as the planet's meager defenses scrambled to respond. All ships, commence phase shift, he ordered. The fleet vanished, reappearing moments later inside the planet's atmosphere. Alarms blared as Zarantine forces detected the impossible breach of their orbital screens. Randy led the first wave through a crackling portal, emerging in the heart of a sprawling military complex. Chaos erupted as human commandos poured from swirling vortexes, weapons blazing. Take out their comms, Randy shouted, his rifle spitting hypervelocity rounds. A Zarantine officer fell, chitinous armor punctured. Across the base, precise strikes crippled power generators and defense grids. Within minutes, the facility was dark and silent. Outside, the sky filled with descending troop carriers. Armored units rolled out, their gravitic shields shimmering as ineffectual Zarantine fire washed over them. Randy watched from a captured command post as phalanxes of power-armored troops advanced across the plains. Zarantine armor columns moved to intercept, only to vanish in pillars of superheated plasma. Sir, we've seized the planetary capital, a lieutenant reported. Zarantine forces are in full retreat. Randy nodded, already focusing on the next target. Prep for jump to Grath Prime. The assault on Grath unfolded with brutal efficiency. But as Randy strode through the conquered streets, he found his path blocked by a sea of alien civilians. Stop this madness, a Zarantine elder cried. We are not your enemy. Randy's eyes narrowed. Clear the streets, he growled into his comm. Concussive blasts tore through the crowd. Aliens scattered, screaming. Mechanized units rolled forward, crushing any who resisted underfoot. That night, Randy stood atop a captured citadel, surveying his handiwork. A dozen worlds had fallen in a single decisive stroke. The Zarantine are finished, he told his assembled officers. Now we push for their homeworld. But even as Randy plotted his next conquest, trouble brewed. On Troras, newly liberated aliens rose up against their occupiers. Similar reports flooded in from other captured planets. "Sir, we're detecting anomalous energy readings from the Nexus," a technician reported, voice wavering. "The output is becoming unstable." Randy waved him off. "Double the research teams. I want more power, not less." He turned back to his war table, blind to the worried looks exchanged by his staff. In the Nexus control room, reality itself seemed to shimmer and twist, the fabric of space-time groaning under the strain of powers never meant for mortal hands. Randy stood at the viewport of his command ship, watching as reality itself seemed to warp and twist around the massive human fleet. Warnings blared from every console, but he paid them no heed. His eyes were fixed on the swirling vortex of hyperspace, the path to ultimate victory. "Sir, we're detecting critical instabilities in the Nexus network," a junior officer reported, voice quavering. "Multiple colonies are reporting severe spatial anomalies." Randy waved him off without turning. "Inconsequential. Press on with the assault." On the bridge view screens, reports flooded in from across human space. On New Terra, panicked civilians fled as entire city blocks phased in and out of existence. A woman screamed as she watched her husband flicker between multiple versions of himself, aging decades in seconds before vanishing entirely. Randy's calm crackled to life. "General, this is Dr. Chen. You need to abort the mission immediately. The Nexus is destabilizing faster than we—" With a snarl, Randy cut the transmission. He keyed his command frec. "All units, prepare for emergence. Weapons hot, no mercy." The vast armada tore into real space above the Zarantine homeworld. Randy allowed himself a cold smile as he beheld the meager defensive fleet arrayed against them. Victory was at hand. "Sir!" his tactical officer shouted. "Multiple contacts, closing fast!" Randy's eyes widened as a swarm of Zarantine ships materialized around his fleet. Not the pitiful defenders he'd expected, but a force to rival his own. Kamikaze crews plowed their vessels into the heart of the human formation, antimatter warheads detonating in blinding flashes. Alarms screamed as thousands of human ships were vaporized in an instant. Randy stumbled as his own vessel rocked from a near miss. "Status report." "We've lost nearly 40% of the fleet," came the shell-shocked reply. "Millions of casualties. Sir, we need to retreat." For a moment, doubt flickered across Randy's face. Then his features hardened once more. "No, we press the attack. Commence planetary bombardment." What remained of the human armada surged forward, Nexus-derived weapons lashing out at the Zarantine homeworld. But the aliens fought with the desperation of a species facing extinction. Their own secret weapons blazed to life, catching Randy's forces in a deadly crossfire. As the battle raged, Randy received an urgent transmission from Earth. The hologram of Admiral Hawkins materialized, his face ashen. "Bell, what have you done? Half of New Chicago just vanished into thin air. We're getting reports of timeline corruptions, mass hysteria. You need to shut down the Nexus now." Randy's fists clenched. "Irrelevant. We're on the verge of total victory. A few anomalies are a small price to pay." Hawkins' eyes widened in horror. "My God, man, you've gone mad. I'm ordering a full—" Randy cut the transmission. He turned to his bridge crew, who stared at him with a mixture of fear and awe. "Push forward. I want boots on the ground within the hour. We'll crush their will to resist once and for all." As Randy barked orders, none noticed the steadily growing rift in space-time spreading behind the fleet. Reality itself buckled under the strain of powers never meant for mortal hands. The massive human armada tore through the fabric of space-time, emerging at the fringes of the Zarantine core systems. Randy stood at the command deck, his eyes widening as the sensor readouts flooded in. "My God," he breathed, taking in the staggering scale of the alien defenses. Countless Zarantine warships and orbital fortresses filled the view screens, their numbers dwarfing even his own colossal invasion force. For a heartbeat, doubt flickered across Randy's face. Then his fists tight. All units, commence attack pattern Alpha. Launch drone fighters. Space erupted with swarming clouds of robotic craft streaking ahead of the main fleet. Zarantine point defenses opened up, filling the void with crisscrossing energy beams. Explosions blossomed as drones detonated against alien shields. Capital ships, target those orbital platforms, Randy ordered. Fire at will. Massive human warships surged forward, their Nexus-enhanced weapons blazing. Lances of superheated plasma slammed into Zarantine battle stations. Armor plates buckled and melted under the onslaught. But the aliens weren't defenseless. Their own ships returned fire, energy beams and missile salvos pounding human shields. Alarms blared as systems overloaded. Sir, boarding teams are in position, a tactical officer reported. Randy nodded. Execute. Across the battlefield, squads of power-armored Marines phased directly into the hearts of Zarantine command ships. They materialized in alien corridors, weapons already blazing. Private Jenkins found himself face-to-face with a towering Zarantine warrior. Its mandibles clicked in fury as it swung a massive energy blade. Jenkins ducked, feeling the weapon pass inches from his helmet. He thrust upward with his combat knife, burying it in the alien's throat. Ichor sprayed as the creature thrashed and died. All around him, the narrow confines of the Zarantine vessel echoed with gunfire and alien shrieks. His squad pushed forward relentlessly, securing vital systems. On the Zarantine homeworld below, the surface trembled as human dropships screamed through the atmosphere. They touched down behind hastily established beachheads, disgorging waves of troops and vehicles. Colonel Ramirez surveyed the alien cityscape from atop his command tank. All units, push forward. Use the grav pulses to clear a path. Massive emitters powered up, sending ripples of distorted gravity rolling outward. Zarantine soldiers caught in the waves screamed as their bodies twisted and shattered. Those who survived threw themselves at the human lines with suicidal abandon. A berserker alien leapt onto Ramirez's tank, claws scrabbling for purchase. The colonel calmly drew his sidearm and fired, blowing the creature's head apart. But for every Zarantine that fell, 2 more took its place. Keep firing, Ramirez bellowed. Don't let up. Randy led his elite strike team through the labyrinthine depths of the Zarantine capital. They fought tooth and nail for every corridor, facing waves of genetically enhanced super soldiers. Plasma bolts sizzled past Randy's head as he dove for cover. He popped up, his rifle spitting hypervelocity rounds. 3 Zarantine warriors fell, their augmented bodies riddled with holes. Push forward, Randy shouted. We're almost there. They blasted through the final set of armored doors, emerging into a vast chamber, and there, at its center, waited the supreme ruler of the Zarantine Empire. Randy's mind reeled as he beheld the creature. It defied description, its form shifting and writhing as it bled through the very fabric of reality. Tentacles of distorted space-time lashed out, reality warping around them. Without hesitation, Randy triggered the device strapped to his chest. Raw Nexus energy exploded outward, meeting the alien horror's power head-on. The air itself seemed to scream as fundamental forces clashed. Randy felt his body dissolving, merging with the swirling maelstrom of energy. The alien entity howled in unknowable tongues as it too was consumed. Space and time buckled, entire realities colliding and shattering. When the cosmic firestorm finally subsided, Randy found himself changed. His physical form was gone, replaced by pure energy and limitless awareness. He could feel the Nexus coursing through him, binding him to the very foundations of existence. The Zarantine were gone, erased utterly from the cosmos. But in their place, Randy saw the multiverse fracturing around him. Timelines splintered and merged, contradictory realities bleeding into one another. And at the center of it all stood Randy, newly ascended to godhood, with the power to reshape all of creation according to his will. Yet even as that intoxicating potential filled him, he saw the spiraling chaos threatening to consume everything. Randy's consciousness exploded outward, his very essence unraveling as he merged with the cosmic fabric of reality itself. The Nexus energy coursed through him, stripping away his physical form and human limitations. He floated in an endless void, surrounded by swirling vortexes of possibility. Countless timelines stretched before him, each a window into a different version of reality. Randy's expanded awareness took in the infinite variations simultaneously. In one plane, he witnessed the ruins of New Chicago. Bands of desperate survivors fought over scraps of food amid crumbling skyscrapers. Nexus-powered warlords clashed in the streets, their battles leveling entire city blocks. Another shard revealed a barren Earth, its surface scarred by orbital bombardments. Alien ships patrolled the skies over empty cities, the last remnants of humanity huddled in underground bunkers, slowly dying out. Randy's gaze swept across the multiverse, taking in the full scope of devastation wrought by his actions. Worlds burned, civilizations crumbled. The very fabric of space-time buckled under the strain of powers never meant for mortal hands. Yet amid the chaos, Randy glimpsed rare moments of harmony. Humans and aliens working side by side to rebuild shattered colonies. Diplomats from a dozen species gathering to forge lasting peace. But always, inevitably, conflict and destruction followed. The weight of infinite possibilities crashed down upon Randy's expanded consciousness. For the first time, he truly understood the consequences of his unchecked ambition. All the death, the suffering, the atrocities committed in the name of human dominance. It was all for nothing. Randy's last spark of humanity recoiled in horror at the realization. He had sacrificed everything, his body, his comrades, his very soul, in pursuit of ultimate power. And in doing so, he had become the architect of humanity's doom across countless realities. In that moment of clarity, Randy made his choice. He gathered the full might of his cosmic being, channeling every scrap of energy that remained. With a thought that shook the foundations of reality, he unleashed a cataclysmic wave of force. The shockwave tore through the multiverse, snuffing out corrupted timelines. Entire branches of possibility crumbled to dust in its wake. Randy's consciousness splintered, scattering across what remained of the cosmic tree. At last, a single timeline endured. On a distant colony world, a younger Randy stood with his fellow soldiers. They faced down an army of Zarantine warriors, armed only with simple projectile weapons and unyielding courage. As the last embers of Randy's godlike power rained down from the sky, both sides lowered their weapons in awe. Human and alien alike gazed upward, united by wonder at forces beyond their comprehension. Private Jenkins turned to his squad leader. "Sir, what do we do now?" Randy looked across the battlefield at the Zarantine forces. For a fleeting instant, he felt an echo of his cosmic self, the weight of infinite possibilities and the horrific consequences of unchecked ambition. He took a deep breath, shouldered his rifle, and spoke. "We talk," Randy said. "We find a way forward together, or we all lose." Slowly, cautiously, soldiers from both sides began to lower their weapons.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.